Going on, everyone? Welcome to Fight Octave. Today, I'm here with Rosa again. He's getting ready for his next fight. Lucas, thank you for joining the show.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
So, last time we interviewed, it was before your last fight, which was against Matt Denning. Kind of a short notice fight. You went out, got the victory in the first round again. How was that win?
That was awesome. It's like I've been really trying hard, like working hard to keep that sort of pace, and some of it, I've think I've learned a lot of like new skills that I didn't have, 7 months ago. Just in terms of like, managing myself, like talking to promoters, helping get myself fights and things like that. And obviously, I have a lot of help from my team and stuff, but I definitely like try to push the pace in terms of like trying to book fights and that sort of thing. And that was a step up too. Denning. Had 8 pro wins, which like the nearest opponent to that, I had only like I think 2 or 3 pro wins before that. So it's always when you keep like leveling up to fight different people, there's always sort of that doubt in your mind of like, man, like is the level going to change that much? I kind of felt that in my first pro fight in May. I was like, man, are the pros going to be that much different, even if they're like, maybe don't have the best record? Like, are they going to be a huge step up? And that's kind of what I was like a little worried about in the back of my mind in this fight in Vermont. And I think one of the things that helps is the preparation takes away a lot of that fear. And yeah, it was a really really cool win to be able to fight up in Vermont. And for Donnybrook Promotions was like they were honestly a really cool promotion that I'd never fought with before. And yeah, it was cool to be able to fight in front of my sister too, Teresa. She lives up in Vermont too, so
It's awesome.
yeah.
Obviously, it was a quick win again in the first round,
Yeah.
and it was kind of short notice. So I don't know if you had a game plan going into that, but you won by arm triangle. Was that the plan going into the fight?
I have a lot of I've studied a lot of film on people, like, so by the time, it was pretty short notice, but like in my mind, it was short notice, I guess, for my coaches in a way, because like, I don't try to tell my, team very much until I know I have something like really serious, like, okay, like I just need you guys to look into this and approve that I'm fighting this guy, because I'm always searching for all these different like opponents and different shows that I'm trying to do. So it was for me like I'm always kind of like ready to go, but yeah, we looked at a lot of film on him, and we knew that he was going to start the fight off very strong, and we knew he threw a lot of kicks and stuff. It was funny actually, like I look, and we worked a lot on defense and that sort of thing. And like one thing, Rico DeSchulo, who recently just had a huge win in bare knuckle. I think he's about to go on a title run in bare knuckle, but he actually helped corner me, and yeah, he told me like, oh, like feints, and that really helped, like I think, freeze him quite a bit. And yeah, it was a good game plan. I had my wrestling coach Matt Waggy there as well to help, and had my twin brother Francis, and so it was a really cool event. And I mean, I remember too. It's like I can tell they maybe weren't used to, like, I think when I go to other places in Massachusetts, they kind of like know a little bit more about me, and they see like my walkout and stuff. But it was really cool to go somewhere like up there in Vermont where they're maybe not used to as many of those like pro shows, and like I could tell it was a pretty cool atmosphere. I was in the back. I remember like warming up in the back, and I was screaming, "This is my effing house!" Like just in the middle of like the security guard was just like looking at us like, what the heck, this guy's a psychopath. So it was funny in that sense that, like, it was kind of like it was still home because it was New England, but it was definitely like a different area that like didn't really know me as well. And it was cool to kind of introduce myself. Like they saw the full King of Monsters that night for sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that fight was in Vermont. Your next fight's here in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
What made you want to fight New England again?
Yeah, no, I mean, I know I love the atmosphere of New England, and like it's where my family and friends and sort of Rosa Nation is. I have. It's not like I have like not wanted to fight in Florida, because I had my entire amateur career mostly in Florida, honestly. But I had a few fights up in New England for my amateur career. I fought at the Encore Casino and won on St. Patrick's Day, which was pretty sick in Boston. But aside from that, I didn't really. I mostly fought in Florida in my amateur career, and I think it was just like once I became pro, I was like, I had one of those first instances. I think my second pro fight was like short notice of like 10 days, and I fought in Combat FC again, and and I think like something about sort of the way it brought everyone like I knew together, and like even my mom and parents would tell me like, oh, this was like some of my uncles and like aunts and stuff who were there. They're like, oh, they had such a blast. That was one of the most memorable nights like they've had in a while. And it's just, to me, there's something really special about that, like being able to bring everyone together. And it's like you normally don't really see that sort of thing unless it's like a wedding. It was like a bring all these different types of people, like pull them from different parts of your life to one moment. And I get to do it pretty much every couple months, which is really cool. Like I've reacquainted with old friends because of this, and I get to really represent like my hometown and like the pride of Seabrook and the pride of like the Peabody area too. So
I love that.
yeah.
And obviously, while we're on this topic, when you fight in New England, does that give you a little bit more nerves because your family's watching, your friends are there? Like, does it make you more nervous?
Yeah, I mean, to be like, to be frank with, you and like people sometimes ask me like, "Oh, you scared before the fight?" And it's not really that I'm scared. Like, I don't fear any person. Like, instead of that, I'm fearless. But the prospect of like, something happening in front of your family, in front of your friends, yeah, there's definitely that sort of nerve. And like I said, the only and because I feel that so much, it just makes me like that much more anxious to prepare. So, the fact that it is in Massachusetts, I think is, I know this kid is from Mass, but I think the fact that it is in Massachusetts, it just gives me that extra motivation to be like as prepared as possible. And it's like there's always that like balance between, um, like between like fear being to your advantage or disadvantage, and like I really work hard to make sure that I keep my mind balanced so that it works to my advantage.
Obviously, Aaron Hughes is your next fight, another Massachusetts native. What do you see in this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I know he has he's a pretty well-rounded fighter, and I know he has a few really like slick tricks that he like finishes a lot of his fights that he wins. Like he's more of like when he wins his fights, he finishes his fights. So it's like I have to be very prepared for someone who's like willing to really put someone out. And so yeah, I mean, I do a lot of film work and stuff like that, and I'm training like a maniac right now. People today I'm for the most part I've been training like almost triple sessions for like the past 4 weeks, and now it's time where my coaches are telling me I have to start dialing it down and stuff. But yeah, like I'm trying to level up like to such a degree that like it's gonna be in my mind like I have to make it almost like the chances of me losing have to be because of something really freaky happening. So yeah, I know his game, and I know he's a really tough kid, and he's from the area. So New England people are just tough at heart, and they're passionate people by heart. So uh, I have to respect that coming in for sure. But he's to me he's a challenge for sure. Definite step up. Like he beat Denning in like 3 minutes. I beat him in a minute and a half. So like that tells you like he pretty much finished him in like the same amount of time that I did my last opponent. So it's something that I have to think about and make sure that like I take this challenge as seriously as any fight that I've ever had. And I've fought people at high levels before, especially like some of my last amateur fights were complete wars, and so I'm hoping it's not going to be something like that, but I am expecting like if I have to prepare for that, I am prepared for it. So yeah, I mean I'm hoping to go in there and finish the fight. That's like my goal, but we'll see what he brings, and if I have to, if it comes down to the point where I have to, like it's a fight's a fight. So if it comes to the point where I have to take it more than one round, then that's what'll happen, and you know he'll learn. So
Obviously, it will be a close fight. I mean, 75% of Aaron's wins are by submission. You're obviously a very experienced ground game fighter. Do you think that will play a part in this fight with how experienced he is on the ground as well?
yeah, I mean definitely like some that's sort of what they say sometimes, like when jujitsu clash, like or wrestlers clash, sometimes it turns into more of a striking fight. So we'll see like if that's what happens. I'm like prepared for a lot of different ways. I've been you know like it's hard to sort of skill build as you're preparing for fights, but that's what I've been doing. And the way I've been doing that is just like training more and more and more and doing more individual privates and sort of those sort of things. And yeah, so I mean, I imagine it's going to be a very interesting fight for the fans. Like, I know I have to take things a little bit. I have to be very careful because he has weapons. Like, he has like real like pro level weapons that like I think like Denning also had some of those like with some of his kicks and stuff, but this guy has some tools that he can like finish high level opponents with. So I have to respect that, and I do, and that's why I prepare. I've been preparing hard, looking at his film and like the tactics that I'm gonna have to use to get past the things he does best. And so I always think about things in terms of like a path to victory. Like, what is this person's path to victory? What is my path to victory? Like, if I fought my worst fight, what would it look like? And if he fought his worst fight, what would it look like? And try to sort of compare and contrast to see the juxtaposition of that, and then like where any holes might be. So I'm ready to go with that though.
It will for sure be a close fight. It will be a good one. With a win in this fight, what are you looking to do next?
Yeah. So a win here. I try not to think like too far ahead. I try to take everything one fight at a time. Just like, people always ask me like, "Oh, what's your favorite win?" And for me, it's always like the next one. So I'm always very hyper focused on that next win. Like all I'm thinking about right now is 6-0. That's like what I wake up like I have a taped to my ceiling. I have like a goal that just says Pro MMA 6-0, and so that's what I like wake up, go to bed thinking about. Like it's seeped into my subconscious. So that's right now where I'm at. You know, assuming this goes well, I think I'm just gonna keep trying to stay really active. I think there's a chance that I could be like, I don't know exactly what all the records are, but there's a chance I could be breaking some sort of like records in terms of like, you know, pro wins in a given time span. Like if I won, I think if I won this fight, it would be six pro wins in under 9 months, which I don't know like if that's really been done before. Um, at this stage, like and it because right now I had 5 pro wins in a 7 month span, all first round finishes, which I don't know if that had ever been done before, but it's I'm trying to make my mark on the sport as much as possible, and I think to keep that sort of cycle going and would really mean something special, and I'm trying to get there as quick as possible to the highest levels of the sport. There's a lot of like exciting developments and stuff with MMA right now with GFL, and obviously UFC is still a really big time. So I'm excited for that next step whenever that comes. But right now I'm just hyper focused.
I mean, you're surrounded by a very well amount of highly experienced fighters like Rico, who is on
The Ultimate Fighter, yeah.
The Ultimate Fighter. There we go.
Yeah,
You also have your brother Charles, who was in the UFC for a
yeah,
very long period of time. You trained at the gym where Amanda Nunez was at and her coach.
yeah, yeah.
So how does that experience build up and like really build your surroundings into being a pro fighter?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with working like with people like that is it just gives you the confidence, and they've been there before. They understand the situational, like it's situational awareness too. I have my head like MMA kind of wrestling coach is Matt Waggy, and he's like fought at the really highest levels before. He fought like some of the best people in PFL. I have Charles McCarthy. They call him Chainsaw because back in the day he was on the Ultimate Fighter, like the second Ultimate Fighter ever, and they call him Chainsaw because he was so good at submissions. He would like like literally like you know they say like tear people's like arms and like limbs off basically because he had such good submissions. Like he would like basically pop an arm or pop a leg almost every fight of his opponent. So, I'm surrounded by like those people, and then of course you're talking about Rico, the Ultimate Fighter. He had the Team McGregor like knockout that went viral, and obviously my brother is UFC vet and now is signed to the GFL, which I think hopefully is going to revolutionize the sport as well. So, there's a lot of really exciting people that I'm around, and they give me it not only gives me like motivation and inspires me, but it also gives you some sort of reassurance. You're like, I honestly was going with someone the other day, and I got like a submission on someone, and my coach like looked at me. He's like, well, to be honest, like, this that guy you just had is a really high level, so you should feel confident going to this fight. Like, I know if I can beat, it's not always like that in MMA. Math can be a little odd sometimes. Like, can X beat Y, but Y can't beat Z, and Z can't beat X. You know what I mean? You don't know like which fighters can beat which fighters, even though like one's beating the other. That doesn't necessarily, like, there's no transitive property there, like, because of stylistic matchups. But there's definitely like people that I go against, and I'm like, well, if I can do this well against that person, I think I should be able to, uh, do well against the opponent that I have, and it's it's a special thing to be surrounded by that. It's also like, it's also just sort of the vibe of being around like people that are that motivated, like there's something really special about that. And I love how at American Combat Gym there's a real sense of like open-mindedness about like taking bits of all these different martial arts or all these different training. And that's why it's great too that, like, my head coach Charles McCarthy, he's like, he encourages sort of cross training and like learning from other people, and it's a special thing in that way. And that's also why I train it a little bit at MMA Science, which you were referencing, like Roger Kral, who basically, took Amanda Nunes, and made her into a world champion. Obviously she had a lot to do with it too, but he is, like, I'd say, like one of the best striking coaches in the planet, especially for MMA. I would say he's the best, and he. I think it's a lot has to do with the way he thinks about it in a very progressive way. Like, he was ahead of calf kicks and draw steps and stuff before anybody knew what that kind of stuff was. So yeah, I mean, it's cool that I'm surrounded by, people that are not only so high level, but also like open minded about like learning from all these different components. And I think that's what makes a really dangerous fighter, is when you can have someone who's, not only like surrounded by good things, but is willing to, become better, from like learning all those different, techniques. There's one thing that is a quote I always use, that I used to use it in actually poetry back when I was like more in philosophy and creative writing and more of an academic, which I'm sure we've talked about before. But there's a quote that goes, "Good artists borrow and great artists steal." And in a way, it's like, in a funny way, like, yeah, I'm stealing all these different techniques from all these different professors and coaches, and that's sort of what I'm aiming to do, to become a great martial artist. Is to sort of take these techniques and mold them into my own.
As this fight comes closer, you versus Aaron Hughes, do you have any last message to him?
I would just say be prepared, because like I don't know like what his sort of mindset on fighting is, but I'm going in there to annihilate him. Like, he's gonna see a different version of me than I think like almost any opponent has seen. I'm there to represent my hometown as well, in the New England area too. So that's something that's really personal to me, and he's gonna feel it.
As we wrap up here, do you want to give any shout outs to any of your coaches or sponsorships?
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to everyone at American Combat Gym who's been helping me for this fight, and obviously, my head coach Charles McCarthy, and Matt Waggy's been super helpful. Rico is awesome, and my brother Charles, and Coach Devin. All these different coaches has been awesome to me. Coach Billy, a boxing coach and stuff, and yeah, I mean, in terms of also too, like like my head sponsor, Chucky's Fight, which is my family's charity to help like prevent substance abuse in the New England area. And on top of that, there's also my newest main sponsor is Attorney Shield, which is a really revolutionary new app. So
Awesome. Everyone, make sure you go check out his fight versus Aaron Hughes, Lucas Rosa. Thank you for joining the show.
appreciate it.
Good luck.